Okay, well, welcome everybody to today's Empowered Women's Coaching Call. My name is Kira Love and I have the ever gorgeous Leila Stead joining me today for a very important topic. How are you today, hun?
Very good, very good.
I know you've been called into work last minute, the juggle of independent mum life.
Independent mama life right here. It's all happening.
And we've also had some technology issues, so we apologise for that, but we're going to make the most of the day anyway, and certainly want to have Leila back another time anyhow. We're talking about a really important topic close to both of our hearts that we share a lot on in our social media, and that is being empowered as an independent mum. And I'm sure I can speak for both of us, Leila, in sharing that I am just getting so many inboxes right now from women who are just feeling disempowered and scared about what their future looks like, and just feeling challenged on how to pick themselves up and move themselves into a better position, I guess. So women like yourself, you have such a strong voice on social media and you've grown your following around this, which is amazing. And I might just start by sharing my story, and then I would love for you to share your story because it's very powerful. For myself, I became an independent mum very unexpectedly, literally 12 months ago now. And my entire relationship and like my relationship, my 12-year relationship, my answer to every fear was, it'll be okay because I know that I'll always have him by my side. He really was a rock during that time. And I never imagined that we would ever break up, and we were both very committed to each other. And in the end, we did just grow apart and we weren't bringing the best out in each other anymore. So it's all perfect. But I just was in such denial that becoming an independent mum would ever happen to me. And it was my greatest fear in life ever. And so when I was suddenly pushed out into that reality, for the first little bit, I was in shock, and then I was in tremendous fear. And I was very fortunate to have some coaches and mentors in my life that very quickly helped me turn that around. Because I think I had this story around losing value as a woman if you're an independent mum. And I had that belief re-injected into me, I guess, really quickly, and I was able to own my power again and step back out with confidence. And I can truly say, I know that it's a really cliche thing to say, but I'm so grateful for the gifts that have come from this, because I have really realized my strength as a woman, and I've now faced my greatest fear in life, and I've conquered it, and I'm thriving. Not just surviving. So now I feel unstoppable, which is really amazing. But probably the greatest gift is realizing that I haven't decreased in value. I've actually increased in value as a woman, because I am so much stronger today. Like, I trust myself for the first time ever. I actually love myself. I couldn't say that wholeheartedly 12 months ago. I've really gotten in touch with who I am and what I offer the world, and I feel so much more valuable as a woman today because of that. So I would love you to share, because your journey was a little bit more traumatic, I guess, and
slight bit of trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I became a single mother when I was 13 weeks pregnant, and mine was also quite sudden. He just decided that he didn't want to be a dad anymore and didn't care about me anymore and left, which was really sudden. It was really quite traumatizing. And just like you, it was my biggest fear to become a single mum, because I was raised by one, and it was a huge thing for me to kind of realize, oh my God, this is a huge fear of mine. It's now jammed in my face. I can't run from it. I can't escape it. I have no choice, because I can't try and fight for a relationship when someone's just left. And it was it was really confronting, and it definitely consumed me for a good few weeks, which I allowed myself to feel all the feelings. And
I would hope so. A good few weeks.
Yeah, a good few weeks, and it got pretty ugly and really, nearly consumed me wholly. And I think I just had to try and not be burnt by the fire but be built from it type mentality. So as soon as I adopted that it was a lesson and it was something that I had to go through to get to the woman that I needed to be, then that's when it really changed for me, and my life kind of took a turn for the better. And it was because I realised I have to kind of stand up for all of these women, because at that time there was no one on social media that was saying, you know, I'm a single mum and look how good I'm doing. And there was so much shame. And I kept looking for women online, and I kept looking for this hope. I just wanted this woman that was going to be a vision of hope, and I was convinced that I was going to find it. And then when I didn't, it really broke me down, and I thought, oh my God, I'm alone, I'm a loser, I've been cast aside like a piece of rubbish, and I lost value completely. So it's become a bit of an obsession of mine to make sure that women don't ever forget their value, and that they really are empowered, and that they don't ever forget their worth. Just because someone might walk away from a relationship, it doesn't decrease your value at all.
Absolutely. I love that. And so you found yourself in this mess that you never imagined that would occur. And so, you know, I had my process on how I dealt with that and moved through that, because, you know, the truth is we can choose to stay in victimhood, and you easily could have done that. You really could have stayed in the position of F him, he's left me like this, and really not, you know, moved forward and picked yourself up and made the best of the situation.
Yeah.
How did you move through that? And because, you know, you're definitely someone that I look at as a woman who is just really empowered and making the most of the challenge. And that's all we can do, is look for the gifts in the challenge, really. Because I'm at a place now where I wouldn't change a thing. And obviously there's a lot of processing that goes on to get to that place where you see the perfection.
Yeah, so much processing, and I think I just had to surround myself with a team of professionals, and I went to psychotherapy. I became obsessed with the healing, because I just wanted to be like, I'm forgetting this experience. This is not going to consume me anymore. I'm done with that. I've had my tears. I just want to get over it. So I became obsessed with healing myself, and I went to Reiki, and I went to psychics, and I got a psychotherapist, I got a psychologist, and this was all through the mental health care plan. So it's not, it's a lot of people say, oh, I don't know how to do that, or it's too financially, it's too big of a financial burden for me at this time. It's all through a mental health care plan that I got mine through, because I just said, look, I'm struggling. They gave me a support worker, and I just became obsessed with, I'm not going to let this drown me. I need to kind of rise above it. So a lot of internal work. And I think that a lot of women that come to me in my inbox or in my emails, they start the email off with saying, he's done this to me. He said this, or he's now with this woman, or he's now with this person, or he's gone and cheated with such and such. And that's how they start their message. And I always say to them, okay, just have a look at how you've started your message, and that's totally okay. You're allowed to stand and say, this is what he's done, but how can you turn that into a positive for you? Where's the benefit going to come out of it for you? You know, a lot of women, obviously, sometimes you get left, sometimes people leave, and sometimes you're the one to leave. But I think it's about looking at, okay, so I've been left, or I've, you know, left pregnant, or someone's done the wrong thing and abused my trust, or whatever it might be. And it's about looking at, okay, how is that going to benefit me? What can I take away from that? What can be the value for me? So that's where I started to look at it. And once I looked at it in a way of, okay, you know, it was shit, it's not great, I'm feeling really upset, but where is the value that I can take away from this situation? And I realized, you know what, I chose the wrong guy. And once I said to myself, this is you chose him as a partner, you chose him as a baby daddy, this was you. That's when I thought, oh, okay. It was a bit of a slap.
And sometimes, and you've got to be able to do that self-reflection without another reason to beat yourself up and get down on yourself, because, you know, sometimes men and women, but, you know, we're talking about us. Sometimes men are just master deceivers, not saying I know nothing about your partner. Sometimes we're just in a bad place, and that leads to our wrong choice, because we're looking outside of ourselves to feel validated and loved.
That's right.
And therefore, we're kind of accepting, and we'll get into this, we're accepting a low value partner because they're filling up the hole that we have. Sometimes and when this happens as well, I think what's really important is it doesn't reflect your worthiness. I think what you could have done is gone away and allowed that to make you feel less than who you are. But when these behaviors occur, you know, whether it be cheating or whatever occurs in your relationship, or, you know, your partner decides to leave, it's all a reflection of them and their past and their trauma and, you know, whatever. Yeah, it's got no reflection really on you. And all you can do is take responsibility for yourself and your choices and how you showed up, and use that as lessons, because there's no point in continuing to recycle the hurt and the pain and the trauma and the victimhood of it. And like you said, you've got to turn that into a blessing and see the good in it so that you can move forward and learn from it and have a better future because of it.
Exactly. Like, I speak a lot about that because I think if I was very ashamed at the start.
Yeah.
I literally can recall the feeling of feeling like someone had tossed me aside like a piece of rubbish, and it's still a feeling that now I have to work through, especially now being in a new relationship. That's something that I have to make sure that I'm not attaching to anything new as well. I have to be really conscious of that. So I think that with all of that, it's now that I realise that I'm in such a good position to date or have a partner now, is because now I know that my worth only comes from me, and that came from someone pretty much deeming me worthless. And it was a huge struggle at the start. And I definitely did have feelings where I felt really worthless and I felt really ashamed. And the universe did reward me, getting a bit spiritual juju there, but the universe did reward me because I said, you know what, I'm just going to own this and I'm going to put it out there to the universe and say, you know, this, I want to help people. And I just kept saying to the universe, how can you use this? Yeah. Surely this experience can't be in vain. Surely it can help other women to kind of step into their power as well. And it was when I started saying that people started resonating with my story, and everyone says, oh, how do you grow a following? And I said, I started with one follower, and that was my own account. Yeah. And then you're right, people find you. And now it's a beautiful community that helps women all over the world. And I've taken a little bit of a step back of that now because my situation's changed. But I think I'm still always going to be there as a support when they need me. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think I think for me as well, being of service and sharing my journey has really helped in the healing process. And I think you attract abundance when you are giving and when you are in service. I think that's when you really find yourself. And I think the universe rewards you when you're coming from that place as well. So, and it's genuine. So I think when you're being genuine and real and authentic, that's a rare find when it comes to social media, right? So it's they can relate and they feel like, and this is why I share my story openly. I don't share all the gory details, but the reason why I share in the space that I'm in, because it helps women realize they're not alone. And we all have, you know, the inner bitch voice telling us every day that we're not worthy and all of those things. We all have that same experience. And it's so helpful when we realize we're not alone in that. And every other woman, no matter how successful they appear to be on social media or wherever it is, we're all dealing with the same challenges. And hopefully anyone who's watching this, you know, if you are in a situation where you've just found yourself in an independent mum role or something else challenging, you might not be an independent mum listening to this. Hopefully it just gives you hope that, you know, one day the pain will pass and you will be able to see the beauty and the gift and the perfection in what's happened. So the other thing I wanted to ask you is on this, and then we'll move on to our next topic, but how do you empower yourself when you're feeling really vulnerable? Because I really feel like an empowered woman most days, but I definitely have my face down moments. And one of these happened the other day. We're teaching my youngest to ride her bike, and she has an amazing daddy, and he's definitely participating in that process in the co-parenting. But these are kind of things that I always envisioned with a man's job. And so there's many moments that have occurred this past year where what would have been a man's job, like the first week that Adam moved out, actually, my freaking tire went flat. So I had to deal with that. My dryer broke down, like all of these men's, you know, responsibilities happened. And it was perfect because it allowed me to really just step up and see that I can actually handle all things if necessary. And anyway, so I was teaching my daughter to ride. And just in the process of catching her, and I'm not as strong and all of those things, I ended up with cuts and bruises all over my legs. And I just had this moment of like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, how did this happen? How did my life come to this? Right? And then I just picked myself up in that moment and I'm like, I am so capable of this, you know, and that has been the gift of the last 12 months, is just seeing that I can do all things if necessary. So when you're feeling vulnerable in those moments, how do you kind of move yourself back to an empowered state?
I think my very first vulnerable moment as a single mum came the next day after I had her. I was in hospital by myself, and they said to me, when you and your husband are ready, can you come down to our breastfeeding course? And I said to her, oh, it's on my file. I'm actually solo. And I was completely alone at that point in the hospital. I'd asked all my family to leave just because I didn't want anyone to fill that void. I knew I had to do it by myself. So I remember wheeling her down. I'm not going to get upset. Sorry.
It's all right. We cry a lot on these calls.
Yes, I know. Oh my gosh. I remember wheeling her down a very long hallway, and all of the other, new mums were coming out with their little clear bassinets with their husbands, like supporting them or rubbing them on the back, or if they'd had a Caesar, they were, trying to do everything for them. And I was the only one that was wheeling her down completely by myself. And it seemed like this hallway went on for, 500 meters when it was only a couple of meters. And I finally got there, and I just felt so freaking vulnerable. Like, I just felt like, for starters, we were in a clear room. It was all glass walls. So I felt so exposed, and she was in the clear thing. And, I had my big super pad on, and I was feeling, busted, and my boobs are doing all this weird stuff, and I'm trying to just get my emotions together. And I remember just saying in that moment, like, I really need to own this and just be like, I'm here by myself, and please do not ask me again. So it was then that I kind of stood up and I said, I'm really uncomfortable that you guys keep saying, my partner, I said, he's fucking left me and I'm fucking doing it by myself. So I got really cranky, and the lady said, oh, I'm sorry, I've obviously upset you. So I think it's in those moments, they've been constant throughout this time. We co-parent semi-okay now, so I think they've kind of calmed down a little bit now, but I think they come up all the time, especially I've seen on Father's Days and things like that, women who don't have that father role in their child's life, they've chosen to check out completely. They really struggle with that. So I think for me, in my own experience, is I try and see it as, this is your chance to stand up and say, I can do it, it's okay. And as a single mum, sometimes you get over it, you don't want to do it, you get cranky, and you're like, oh, fuck, why do I have to do everything? And why is this responsibility all on me? And I think the main thing that I try and focus on is this is a huge opportunity for growth within my life. And I can grow from this. And sure, sometimes I've kicked and screamed and got cranky and thrown things and had a real adult tantrum about it. And then I've been like, okay, back to doing it. So I think that's been my huge coping mechanism when anything like that happens. And I just remind myself, like, this is an opportunity for growth, and try your absolute best to show your daughter that you're not going to let this beat you. And I think the second that you revert it back to your little one, then that's the second that you can use that as a huge strength behind you.
I love that so much. And that's one of my power things as well. Like, I never want to look at my girls and have to say to them that I just couldn't be bothered. People will hurt you. Like, you were hurt by this person in your life, but healing is your responsibility. And you could choose to go through the rest of your life saying, fuck him, and I'm a victim. Or you can make the most of the situation, choose to heal, and show your daughter what is possible. And that's my driving force. And initially, when I created my online business, which, I'm very fortunate, and it's not lost on me every day. Like, when I think about women who are left with nothing, and this is why I'm so passionate about empowering women around financial independence, because you just don't know what the future holds. And I was very fortunate that I had created an income when this happened, and I cannot imagine the fear of not having that. And I just, like, for me, I want women to be able to step into their power and know their worth and know what is possible for them. And when I initially created my business, I was doing it because I had no worth myself. I did not believe in myself. I had no confidence. I hadn't created my own income for many, many years. I had no financial certainty in my life. But I wanted to do it for my kids, even though I didn't have the value in myself. So sometimes that is the leverage. You might not feel empowered right now for you, but you will get up and get out of your own way to make it happen for your little ones. And in the process of doing that, you begin to feel your worth, because you're making a difference, you're making an impact, you're growing as a person, you're getting outside your comfort zone. And this is how you grow self-worth and confidence. So, I think, and I always keep that in mind, like the days that I can't be bothered, I'm just like, I need to show these girls how to take care of themselves, how they can be their version, how they can step up and face their dreams. I want to be an example of that. And my healing work that I do is so I fuck them up the least possible. Right? That's my driver. I'm like, how can I, screw them up the least?
Yeah, I can relate to that, definitely, 100%.
And the other thing that I just wanted to quickly touch on is there are many gifts that come, and you maybe could name a few, but there's been some really big gifts specifically that have come out of this separation for me. And one of them is, like, I feel liberated. I feel like I have this space now to truly be me and to shine and do what I'm passionate about and to focus on me. And, I get a lot of people in my community reaching out who see that transformation take place. And I know that would not have occurred where that relationship was last year. And the other thing for me is just how much freedom I have now to really just focus on me and filling my life with things that bring me joy, because I only have to focus on me and my girls. And I actually have to admit that's going to be a challenge to give up when the right person does come along. You have to just embrace, yes, it's different, and yes, there are times where I miss that companionship, but on the other side, man, I'm doing so much stuff that I love, and it's making me so happy. It's been the most challenging 12 months of my life, but it's been the most joy-filled time of my life and the most freeing time of my life as well. What gifts do you feel have come out of this like that you've been able to embrace?
I regularly say to people who say, oh, I'm a single mum, I don't have time to date, or I don't do this, or I can't have that, or men aren't going to want me now because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 kids. They're not going to want this, they're not going to want that. I always just say to them, you are in the most strongest pole position that you are ever going to be in, because there is nothing more fierce than a woman who knows that she can handle her own shit. Yeah. And
I feel like I'm in my prime right now. Like, I actually feel like got way more to offer now than I did.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel like I can date from a place of knowing that, you know what, it's great, and I love having someone in my life, and it's a very new thing, but it's also, if it doesn't work out, you know what, I'm totally cool with that. I'm cool with it because I know I can finance myself. I know my worth now. I know that I can. It's just a strength in me that I didn't have before. Yeah. And yeah, single motherhood, it's hard. Like, I always say to people when they say, I'm thinking about leaving or I'm thinking about doing this, I'm like, it is fucking hard. I'm not going to glamorize it for you and be like, yeah, it's all woman power. It's hard. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub, or having a moment where you're like, how am I going to pay for this, and how am I going to do this? And it can get really, really stressful, but it's also in those moments, it's growing you into this amazing force of a woman that when you do decide to date, or you do want to travel the world solo, or you do want to start a new business, that you have that strength to go, I can do it. I can do it all on my own. So anyone that now comes into my life is going to be an added bonus to it, because I'm whole all on my own already. And I think that's what I tell women is, don't focus on, I only have this many children, or I've got 2 or 3 or 4. No one's going to want that, and it's a huge burden, and my child's got special needs or whatever it is, and they come to me all the time about it. I always say to them, just forget it then. If you feel like you're not ready, or if you're focusing on that, it means that you're not whole, so you won't date from a place of strength. So just forget it until you get to that point and you realize that anyone that is going to know your children it's a blessing for them. It should be a blessing. It should be like, you know what, these kids are amazing. They're an extension of you. I really want to get to know them, and I'm blessed to have them around. So that's been a huge blessing for me, and just the strength and the fierce woman inside, where before I didn't have that. I really didn't. And now I know I can do anything that I put my mind to, and I'm so strong within myself and financially that I just feel like, you know what, I've got this.
And a lot of men will find that intimidating. I've certainly found that this year. Like, when I met my previous partner, he loved me so much, and I had zero self-love when I met him. I was in my early 20s, and I didn't know how to create happiness myself. And so he really did fill those gaps throughout our time together. And now I just feel in a completely different space to when I was dating in my 20s, because I feel happiness and joy every day. I feel like a whole human being. And like you said, I'm looking for someone to complement that. And so the caliber of man that will attract, and that isn't going to be intimidated by that, is, I'm excited for that. And I think so many women are looking for their worth in a man, but you've got to find it in yourself first, and then you will find a man that is worthy to stand by your side. And, when it comes to, we're going to talk about conscious dating now. God, I've got some stories from this year between my friends and it's been the greatest, funniest, fun-filled year for sure. Loads of learning about myself, learning about this crazy dating world, which has changed since 12 years ago when I dated, my goodness. But, I just, one thing I want women to take away from this is to understand your value and your worth. And, you've got to remember that the men that you are dating are literally strangers. I dated a guy maybe for about 3 months this year, and still this person was a complete stranger to me. And I've coached a lot of women this year. Obviously, I'm attracting a lot of single mums now, and I'm just, between my experiences and what I'm hearing, I'm just appalled with how men and some women are showing up in the dating game. And I just want to encourage women to really just stand in their worth and to not accept shitty behavior, to not be flattered by a dick pic or like some other half, are you still there? Oh, you're still there. I just want to give you a couple of example, ladies, because I'm sure you can relate. I've had quite a few random uninvited inboxes this year. Obviously, I've got single vibes going out because I never used to get inboxes from men. But, I've had men, demand when I'm going to go on a date with them what I'll be wearing, and almost selling it like they're paying. So, of course, I just wouldn't be able to wait to jump into that opportunity. I've had men, one guy whose profile was actually amazing. I actually thought we'd have so much in common, and it became very clear very quickly what he was offering was coffee and sex. And in a playful way, when I just kind of let him know I'm actually not that kind of woman, like I didn't say, but I don't come that cheap and easy, right? And so he made me feel like I was hard work, because I wasn't up for that kind of exchange, and that I had kind of a greater expectation on myself. And it's wild out there.
It is. Wild. It really is.
Just what I want everyone to remember is that men need to sell themselves to you. And if you accept this low grade behavior, they will, because I have a lot of women who are kind of bitching about how they're being treated. But if you are buying into this behavior, then they will treat you like a lower value woman. If
That's
you
right.
want to have a high value experience, you have to behave like a high value woman. And the wrong ones, if they're treating you like that, good riddance anyway, right? You don't want them in your life.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I think knowing your worth in a dating environment also comes from what you have tolerated in the past and what's burnt you and what you've learned from. And look, I've
definitely, and you can make mistakes. I've made some mistakes, right? But learn from it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you're allowed to make mistakes, obviously, in any environment, but I think especially in dating, because that really teaches you what you're going to tolerate. And sometimes you need to be burnt. Sometimes you need to accept the lower grade behaviour until you go, you know what, I've learned from that and I'm going to move forward. And I certainly have in the past. I obviously spoke about getting catfished quite publicly. I didn't expect it to go so viral. A bit embarrassing, really. But obviously, I joined in on the low grade behaviour and it became a thing and went everywhere. So I think that was a huge lesson for me of don't ever do that again. Number one, you don't know where those photos are going. And number two, I think obviously they were cute. I made sure they were cute. But I think the point is that I definitely joined in that low grade behaviour and I accepted that, and I was more than a willing participant. And I wasn't going to talk about it publicly. And then I thought, you know what, that's actually something that I do need to mention, because if I've been caught out and mistaken photos for feelings or whatever it was, then other women are going to do the same, and I need to protect them and show them, like, it can happen to anyone. It happened to me. It can happen to anyone. It doesn't discriminate.
Especially when you're really craving connection, it's really easy to create stories. And, you know, I've had this in my coaching, like even, and I know she'll laugh. I'm not going to say who or what, but like there was one point, like, I'm committed. If I need to, I'm like, I will punch you in the face if you message this guy again. Like, if that's what I need to do to break your state. Like, sometimes you can't see the truth because you are desiring that connection, or
you romanticize it. And I think a lot through my 20s and even early 30s, early 30s now, but start of 30s, I guess, whenever I was young and I began dating, I romanticized the situation. And I put so much, it's this big, amazing connection. And then I realized I've just romanticized that. I was like taking this beautiful love story in my own head when it wasn't actually the reality. And
the
that's
most
when I thought,
amount of women I've spoken to who think they're in love after a week, and it's like the truth is that's a completely like fabricated story in your head. These are changes that you're letting into your home and whatever, and into your heart. You actually don't know these people, and it's so important to keep a grounded mindset. Yeah, and this is the challenge as a woman. I have found this challenging, I must be honest, to be vulnerable, and because I am someone who just leads with honesty and vulnerability, and I'm really committed to not letting the challenges of this year, close my heart and, make me cynical. So I want to stay open-hearted. I want to stay vulnerable, but it's dancing between that and just staying grounded in common sense, because women have all of these flood of hormones and things that completely cloud our vision really easily when it comes to dating. And I think that is one of the greatest challenges, is staying connected with your value and what kind of behavior you're worthy of commanding, without being, commanding respectful behavior doesn't make you hard work. Right? It's not, it's just being respectful in how you treat others, and then just that will command the right respect back. But it's also staying grounded and not letting, it was such a good point. I'm so glad you brought that up. Women just make shit up in their head. That's just the truth of how it is. They want to see the best. Men. Yeah, they want to see the best in someone. Yeah, they're all guilty of that, right? Like, I'm still coming to terms with some things like in my past where I'm just like, how was I so oblivious to this? Look, at the end of the day, ladies, you're the one with the goods, and men want certain things, right? If you command better behavior, they will behave better because you're the one with the goods. And so you've got to stop being sold such a low grade experience, because I think collectively, when we all rise above and just say, you know what, I mean, even just when a man sends a dick pic, you just got to, it just shows this man knows nothing about women. Right?
I know. Oh my gosh. Some of the things I've received, I'm just like, you are kidding.
It's immediately, to me, is like, next. This man clearly is not the kind of man that I'm looking for, because he knows that little about women or how to treat a lady like a lady. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anything
exactly.
What else would you share on your so how do you consciously date? Because you're a mother, you've got a daughter that you have to be mindful of.
I think I always just be heart-led now, and don't let myself get caught up and romanticize something. And I think that's the one thing that I've had to really notice. And the one thing that I have taught myself is to just match their level of investment. And I keep talking about that constantly when women come to me about dating. It's matching their level of investment. So I don't go too far forward when they're still back, and vice versa. So if they're, one rule I've always had is I don't do coffee, I don't do juices, because this sounds really bad, but if you're going to offer me a $7 juice for my time, that's not something that I'm going to want to take hours out of my day for, to get ready and drive there and do all that type of stuff. So even though it's, usually I'll pay for my own coffee or juice in that situation, if I do feel like, oh, that's someone that seems pretty cool that I'll go and spend time with. It doesn't always have to be a fancy dinner, but I think in that thing, I've just wanted to match their level of investment. And that's when I've found, when I've really taken a step back and let them step forward, or if they haven't stepped forward, then I've been like, you know what, that's not my guy. So it makes things a lot more clearer when you're the one kind of standing back a little bit and letting them step forward and show you what they're wanting and what their hopes and dreams are for the situation. So
yeah,
that's
and then
learning.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. And, you know, for me, like, I'm looking for a king, right? A king is moving towards me. I get to be a lady. But it's like when they don't show you that level of investment that you feel like you're worth, it doesn't mean that you're disempowered just sitting back and waiting for the man to do everything. That's when you go next. This guy, is like you said, it gives you the clearest picture of who this person is and what they're looking for and how they see you. There is no guessing. You know, a man is going to move forward if they're interested. So you don't have to
They're not going to. Yeah,
he's not too busy. Exactly right. He's not this. He's not that. Stop making up bullshit stories. Basically.
Exactly. Go and watch He's Not That Into You. No, that's a terrible example, but I think. Yeah, it's just matching their level of investment is hugely important, and knowing what you are wanting to invest and what you want out of the situation has been huge. Like, I've definitely noticed that since I've been dating, the second that I've kind of been standing in my power and been like, you know what, you're perfect on paper and we get along well and we have these vibes, but there's this and this and this of non-negotiable values that you're not matching. So I mean, I had to... It's so important, standing in your power and saying, you know what, you are perfect, but you're not 100% perfect for me. And people have flaws. It's not saying they have to be, you know, this amazing guy for you, but I think it's just non-negotiable values, writing those down and making sure that you really know what they are. I was dating someone briefly for a while, and when my mum got sick, and I told him, you know, my mum's become unwell, I really need to go to the hospital, and it was all quite serious at that point, which it still is now, but it was obviously very new. And he didn't even text me. And then he texted me like a few weeks later saying, you know, I hope everything's okay. And I just said, you know what, any guy that is going to come into my future would have 100% have said, you know what, I know what's going on and I'm going to be there for you. I haven't even heard from you. And I said to him, that's cool. That's just a totally different value to me. Please don't call me again. So...
And a lot of men will breadcrumb you like that. Like, there's no emotional investment there. It's purely on their terms. And that's where you have to have the self-worth to go, no, this is not in alignment with what I'm looking for. And you know what Leila and I are talking about, we're not saying write a long list of he has to have this and look like this and da 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 da. Like, you don't need crazy expectations. But you do need to be very clear on what your non-negotiable values are before you start dating. Otherwise, you do start making justifications. And you know,
but he's got this, but he does that, but he has a good job, and you make excuses for the situation. You know, he's going through a lot, so he couldn't reach out. Well, no, it's, you know, like I think as soon as you become really clear on, my number one thing on my list prior to starting dating the person that I'm seeing at the moment was, I just want someone who is emotionally intelligent enough. They've been through a bit of shit, they're self-aware, they know what they want from a woman, they know they know how to match my expectations. And so far that's what I've found, is that we have a really nice even battle of the wills, and we know, you know, we're both bringing equal things to the table. So I think that's, in saying no to all of the people that were right on paper but not 100% right for me, then that's when the universe went, here, hopefully here's one that is great. We will see.
The other thing that's really great to add to that is, rather than writing down expectations on how this person is going to show up, write down how you want to feel in the relationship. Because I'm big on mission statements and things like that. And when it comes to the relationship portion, you know, I'm very clear that I want to be with someone who helps me make an impact in the world. And you know, pretty much the rest of that is really about how I want to feel and how it causes me to show up as my best version. Because obviously the right person is going to bring out the best in you. So rather than all these expectations on what this man has to have, really think about how you want to show up. Because when you're showing up as your best, you are going to attract a higher quality person into your life as well, I think. And yet the other point that you made was really cool. Like, I've actually been on some dates with some really incredible people this year, but it's just a values mismatch, like misalignment. It doesn't mean that the people that you go on a date with are not great guys or high value or whatever, but when you're very clear on what's important to you in your future, you can very quickly establish, because I hate wasting time. My time is very valuable. So I'm like, cool, we're just misaligned. That's awesome. It's not, you know, a reflection on either of us not being good enough.
Yeah, I think
day hoping that it goes somewhere. Go into every day hoping to see this person clearly so you can make a good judgment on whether they're a good fit for you or not.
Exactly. And something happened last night which was hugely important, I think, in our new dating thing that we have happening here. When, you know, as women, but particularly me in my own life, I can get a little bit up here sometimes if I've got too much on, if I have, you know, a coaching call today and I'm trying to work in the shop and I've got all my photography clients asking me where their photos is, and my daughter needs me and she's got a stutter, and I was like all up here. And he came over last night and he was like, you know, you seem really like, and I was like, oh, sorry. And I was like, you know, I've just got a lot of anxiety at the moment. I don't suffer from it, but I'm just feeling like really anxious. I just feel like I'm all like in my head a little bit. And he straight away was like, you know what, come sit on the couch. We'll just breathe through it together. We'll talk about it. You know, did our little meditation thing together. And I was like,
you can hold space.
Exactly. He just held this space for me, and he was so busy with what he had to do with his own business. But he was like, let's just take a little bit of time out. We'll just do our breathing. And he's like, you know, breathe down into your chest and let's focus on releasing whatever it is. And like 10 minutes later, I was cool as a cucumber. And I was like, universe, thank you. That's what I need sometimes, is the calm to make chaos. When my world gets a bit chaotic, I need that man to hold the space to be the calm for me. And he really did. No one's ever done that before. Not that I even knew that I needed that before.
That's on my list.
Yeah. So I was like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's like a huge thing for me. So I was like, that is amazing. I felt really like on a deeper connection level after that. So
yeah, that's massive. Oh, that's awesome. Yay, I'm cheering for you.
I know. I was like, that was amazing. I'm actually feeling like good about that.
Yeah. That's good.
So yeah.
It's like, that's when you really see what someone's made of, I think, is when challenges start to occur, and how they show up for you will either be a huge indication or a huge red flag. Ladies, you've got to stop ignoring the red flags. Like,
there was a meme on that the other day. There was like one of those video memes, and it had red flags flying at this lady's face, and she was like, but I love him. And I was like, that's been me in the past, definitely.
This is the other conversation I've been having with women, is like, you know, once it unravels, they're like, he told me this on day one. And it's like, yes, but you didn't listen because you're too busy creating the perfect family story in your head rather than seeing and hearing exactly what is in front of you. Yes, there are some players out there that are very good at lying, but I think for the most part, men are pretty they're just who they are. They're pretty simple to work with.
That's right.
Yeah. Just not listening. So to finish up, you know, what would you say to women who are right now feeling like they are facing their greatest fear or they're not sure how to move forward in being empowered? And by the way, I love the term independent mum. I think single mum is really
I pinched that from you. From you, by the way.
Yeah, independent mum is so much more empowering, because I think there is this, not that there needs to be, but there is this negative vibe associated with, I'm a single mum, I need rescuing. You know, when you're an independent mum, you don't need saving. You will find someone who aligns with you, who amplifies your awesomeness, but you don't need rescuing. So what would you say to women who are feeling fearful right now or stuck in that phase?
I think the number one thing that I always tell women is that you just have to look for the lesson, and then that's going to be what guides you through. And I know it sounds corny and cliche, and people are like, oh, but where is it? It's when you actually say to yourself, where is the lesson in this, that it kind of starts to unravel and unfold. And then that's when you can grab a hold of the reins and take ownership of your own life.
Yeah.
That's how it happened for me. That's how it's happened for so many other women as well that have been in that situation. So I always just say to them, some people have said, you know, he done this, or he was dishonest, or he done something really horrible. So there is no lesson, because and I always say to them, just stop, because that's being in the victimhood right there. And you're allowed to be. Some men are disgusting and they're, you know, violent, and there's domestic violence involved. And some women are very much the victim. But it's about saying, okay, well, hang on a sec. Did I see those red flags at the start of the relationship? did I tolerate something, whether it was just, you know, it started as like a small shove or it started as this? Did I tolerate stuff that was a small red flag and it's become this huge mountain? Can I look for those signs next time so that I'm keeping myself and my kids safe, or whatever it might be? It's just looking for the lesson that you can take away for your own.
Like, if that's who that man is, thank God that he showed himself then and not 10 years later. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you've got to, and this came out of a relationship call I did a couple of weeks ago with Brett Williams, which you guys can go check out. But it's trusting yourself. Allow these experiences to help you trust yourself more. Like, I allowed my intuition to be questioned over the past 12 months, and like, it's been a brutal lesson. But as the result, the blessing has been, I fucking trust myself now. Like, I'm not going to let anyone question my intuition ever again if I know something in my being to be true. And sometimes you need to be screwed over to really see that, to see the signs, to understand that.
That's where the lesson comes from.
100%. So, and just to add on to what you said, you know, I know it's hard to see in tragedy that how this is happening for you, but everything does happen for you, and you can either stay in victimhood or let life create for you and use this as a stepping stone to become so much greater, wiser. Even you, Leila, like, the women you have been able to empower and give life and hope to because you had that shitty experience, and it's a shame that you had to go through that. Yes. Our other women, but I know, because I know this to be true, on a hard day, it always happens on a hard day, and I have many hard days still, but I'll open my inbox and have an outpouring of love from someone who is thanking me for sharing my journey because it's helped them do A, B, and C and to move through some challenge. And the emotional revenue of that enriches my life so much that I can't even put it, it's so hard to put into words.
Yeah, pain equals power. That's what I used to say at the very start of the experience. The pain equals the power that's going to propel you forward. So I just recalled that from my blogs.
Beautiful. Well, if you guys aren't following Leila, go and follow her on Instagram, Leila Stead. She's such a beautiful, empowering page to follow. And yeah, another tool I have, when I post this, I will put that we created this week in the comments, which is an empowered women's meditation that you can start your day or end your day with each day, just to start cultivating a more hopeful headspace and energy, and to help you access your truth every day, remember who you are and the unlimited power and potential that you have inside of you. And yeah, I hope that you can continue connecting with the community. I'd love to have you back, Leila, and hopefully actually get
I would love that.
In my office. Thank you so much. I know today's been such a challenge. We don't use words like stuck and struggle.
Yeah, it's been gorgeous. I work in the beautiful store now, so it's really nice to be able to have this space. And it's funny because the second that I said, you know, I want to create these new amazing friendships in my life, and I want to surround myself with beautiful women that, if you listen to Lacey Phillips' podcast, that are expanders, and then Kira's come into my life and Jess has come into my life, and I'm working around all these amazing creative women in the shop, and it's just like a huge blessing the universe has just supplied. So yes,
I love that.
Feeling very
blessed. Ask for it. If you don't know what you want, ladies, it ain't coming. It ain't getting better. You need to get clear on that, right? And understand your worthiness to ask for what you want in life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for having me.
No worries. We'll have you again soon. Thank you, everyone. I hope you have a magnificent day, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.